So I don't know what you guys think about that. I know with my wife, if I've got a piece of lettuce in my tooth, she'll say, Dan, you've got some lettuce in your teeth. And I really appreciate that because I know she's saying it to help me rather than hurt me. And I hope that whenever I'm leading someone maybe 10 years younger than me, they know I'm saying something, even if it is a critique, I'm saying it to help them rather than hurt them. And because hopefully I've invested positive over all those months and years, that one bit of criticism, they know it's like for the right reason. But how are you guys finding giving feedback?
I think for me, in my context, I find a lot of millennials, maybe people a little bit younger than me, become very defensive. Like, you're telling me something, I've done it wrong, and I should have got it right straight away. I kind of find that because we're, as a society, we're very results-based. And so if I don't get it right the first time, then I've failed. And that becomes their kind of stance point of defensive, that, I've got to justify why I did it, or there's an excuse, someone else didn't do it, or whatever. And I really find that, even in my own life, just thinking about, I'm led by my dad, which is amazing and terrible at the same time. And so I would try and get my approval from my dad, in terms of, I want to do everything right. And so when I'd made a mistake and he'd come to me, I'd just become very defensive about that because I didn't want to fail him or anything like that. And so my experience is that I have to kind of try and break that defensive nature by saying it's okay to make a mistake to this generation, that it's okay that you make mistakes.
I think as well, something that I've certainly seen is that a lot of sort of Generation Edge, because they have a lot of easy access to knowledge, they know a lot but don't have a lot of experience, and so you try and kind of critique and challenge, and they feel that they know better than you in some ways. And I think it's teaching them and helping them and enabling them to have the experience that matches up to the knowledge that they have, and then giving them a safe platform to fail off of the back of that, and really trying to support them a little through that experience. But it can be a real challenge, I find.
I think it's always cool to link it through relationship as well, in terms of when it comes to feedback, is if you're doing a journey with them and the young adults know that you care, they're more willing to listen. But in terms of failure, I think sometimes when you have a goal in mind or a vision, that also helps too, so that they can understand that there's a bigger picture here than just my part that I'm playing, but what we're doing together is actually helping other people.
Testimonies and stories are influential, and powerful. I think looking at the future, they can be the leading pioneers of people coming to Christ. Do you think that social media has a platform for people to be influenced as well?
Well, millennials and Gen Edges are actually both narrative generations, much more than the ones that went before. Almost every form of meaningful information that comes to a millennial, like most of you today, and the Gen Edges that you lead, has a narrative attached, if you think about it. Whether it's a song is usually a narrative, a video clip is a narrative, a news story now, a shorter and shorter narrative. Social media, you mentioned, is a form of narrative, stream of consciousness style. I'm telling my story in little bits over a period of time. So the narrative is very important to these generations. So we need to communicate through narrative, but we need to add to that systematic truth, which means, I don't mean we give 3-point sermons, but I mean we don't just tell stories. There comes a time when you have to do what Paul did on Mars Hill, use the story to bring you to a point about truth and to explain.
When it comes to young millennials who have different passions and aspirations in life, whether it's to become an artist or a sports person, when that passion or that goal takes them away from church, how can we best support them?
That's a great question. And it happens a lot, doesn't it? I think, first of all, we do our best to make sure that doesn't happen,
right,
which means celebrating those gifts within the church, but not just on Sunday.
right.
Celebrating them in other ways, getting behind them, speaking about them in public. Have you heard about what John's doing? John, come up quickly and tell us what you've just done in the arts this week. that sort of thing. Making videos about them, putting them up on YouTube, telling their stories.
Right.
But also when it does happen, and it often does, I think we need to ensure that these young people understand you're still a Christian whatever you do.
Yeah.
As long as you stay within grace and live by truth and don't walk outside of Christ, you're a Christian whatever you do. You carry Christ wherever you go. What I'm concerned about is that you carry Christ wherever you go and that you live up to that high and holy calling. So, all right, if you want to go and play in a nightclub I don't want you to play in a nightclub because I don't think it's good for you and I don't think you're ready for it. And I don't think it's an environment you need to be in. But if you go and do that, I can't make that choice. You've got to make your own independent choice. That's a maturity thing to do. But in doing that, you have to understand, you must be able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the night and say, I took Jesus tonight somewhere he would want to go.
Wow.
And that's sort of, see, I think sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, what we do from the pulpit or even in Christian TV, especially in Christian TV, is we make people think like they have to keep coming back to us for their answers.
Yeah.
Our role in preaching should be to teach them independent thinking.
Right.
So when we're not there to tell them what movies to see, they can make a wise choice, an ethical choice. So it comes down to that.